Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about reading plans for this week. I just finished a book like literally 30 minutes ago and I'm about to jump into the next book. Let's talk about the book I just finished actually. So I just finished Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and honestly, this was not my favorite book. It really was not. I think that if I understood all of the movie references in this, it would have been different. And I also just wasn't super invested in our characters, but whatever. Nonetheless, I gave it 3 stars. It was cute. Just definitely was not my favorite. And then the book that I wanted to jump into so badly is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. So this one has been a book that I've wanted to read for a really long time. This is a good floppy paperback. Let's talk about it. OMG. This has been a book that I've wanted to read for a really long time, but I've never had it in my possession until like a week or two ago. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm seeing a bunch of booktubers talk about this one and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that means I should pick it up. So I'm gonna be picking this one up. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not your typical contemporary fiction reader. I tend to stick to fantasy, romance, some thriller, some sci-fi, not much contemporary fiction. But I've heard so many good things about this, and honestly, I need to know what it's about. And I'm on the fence of purchasing The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and if I end up liking this, I will definitely be getting that book. But I've just heard amazing things. I've heard it could make me cry, so I'm scared for that, but I'm super excited for it. So I'm gonna be jumping into this almost immediately. Nova is down for her 3rd nap of the day. The girl slept horribly last night and then woke up so early, and I'm like, okay, great, you ready for your next nap? So I'm gonna try to get as much reading done as I can in this little nap period, but I also need to film my January wrap-up video and potentially a February TBR. So I don't even know if I will even be able to get to this within this nap time period because I need to get some things filmed while I have the opportunity. But this is probably what I will end up reading all week long. If I finish this by the end of the week, I'd be surprised. But it's Tuesday, so let's do the damn thing. I apologize in advance for this very awkward angle, but it's kind of what we're working with now. It is 7:52 a.m. Nova has been waking up incredibly early the last few days, like 6 a.m. and she's typically like a 7:30 a.m. wake up kind of person. And this morning she woke up at 5 and I was like, no ma'am. So luckily she went back to sleep for a little bit, but only until like 6:15, and that was all we got today. So I got out of bed. Obviously we got the day moving. There's nothing we can do. So now she is down for her first nap. She went down probably 20 minutes ago. So I have a little bit of reading time. I did read a little bit already this morning. I have not gotten very far. I'm only on page 15 in this book because my day ended up getting super busy yesterday and didn't have any time to read last night. So I read a little bit this morning before I jumped on, but I wanted to pause and kind of talk about this book for a second because I am surprised at how much I like it and how much I'm already invested in what's going on, considering I'm only 15 pages into this book. But I don't know what it is about Kristen Hanna's writing, but it is making me feel all kinds of things for our main character Tully at this point, because nothing, obviously up until page 15, none of this is a secret, but she lives with her grandmother, and her mom has basically like abandoned her and came back, I think when she was like 9 or 10, took her and basically like left her at this like protest thing, like forgot her and left. And then she ends up back at her grandmother's house, and she goes through like these next few years like building this scrapbook and writing down about like all her good days, because she just so desperately wants to make her mom proud, because she thinks that her mom, I guess, is ashamed of her, and that's why she doesn't want to like care for her. And we just ended this chapter. She's now 14 years old, and it's talking about how she's like smoking cigarettes now, and she's basically pretending that she's like super happy and like has a lot of friends, and she does things she isn't supposed to because she's trying to fit in. And the chapter just ended that she gets off the bus and her mom's like van is outside of her grandmother's house. So I'm really eager to like figure out what's about to happen. But I just find this whole thing to be like really, really sad. And I think part of it is me having like a personal connection to someone that is having this experience. Now, granted, he's only 5 at this point, but knowing that like he may have some of these thoughts as he gets older, like there's just things about it that are just really, really sad and honestly like break my heart a little bit. I think that is making this story extra heavy for me, but I am thinking that this is going to move me in such a way that I have never been moved in a book. So I'm very excited and also incredibly nervous to continue, but I think that I'm gonna have nothing but incredible things to say about this book. I'm having a good time, but I'm gonna keep reading because Nova's probably only gonna sleep for another like 45 minutes if I'm lucky. Oh, and I did start an audiobook, which I think I'm actually gonna DNF. I started it yesterday while I was like doing all my shower things and whatever. I haven't listened to an audiobook in a really long time, so started this audiobook. It's called Seasick. I don't remember the author, but my cousin actually just bought this from Barnes & Noble because the premise of it sounds really interesting. It's YA, which means it's not going to get like too graphic and gory. So I was like, okay, well, I'll start this because it was like familiar. My cousin just bought it. And I kid you not, guys, I got 2% of the way in, okay? Now, just like we have like turnoffs with people, I have turnoffs with books, okay? And the minute that and I mean like the author, gets political in a book, I'm out. Like, to me, that is not what I want my reading experience to be. Like, I'm trying to escape, which is why I like fantasy a lot of the time, because it's a different world, there's different rules, and reading is an escape for me. It's a de-stress. So the last thing I want is to talk about political topics or certain controversial topics that I don't agree with. Like, I just don't like, and I felt like this book was already overly inserting them into this book. Like, we barely have any context to the story at all, and there was already 2 different political topics that were being addressed, and we were 2% of the way in, and I was like, no. So I DNF'd that one. That's my first DNF of the year. Hopefully I can find another audiobook to be listening to while I drive around and do all the things this week, but I'll let you know when I do find another audiobook. Okay, this is not the best lighting nor the best angle at all, but I have a second. My husband and I went out to breakfast with some friends this morning, and then we've been meal prepping all day so that pretty much all of breakfast and lunch is done for this coming week. So I finally got done with that, and then we're about to go to the park, to take Nova to the park and let the dog run around at the dog park. But I needed to update you guys because I've gotten a good ways into this book. I'm on page 282 or 283. I don't know, I'm at one of those weird stopping points. And I'm still loving this. It definitely, it's like pulling on my heartstrings. I don't know. And I think the funniest part is that I can't even really like relate to much in this book. I think I can relate more to Kate than Tully. And I don't know, it's just been so fun. Like, the whole time I have like the best feeling about this book. That's my little update for today. We are going to go to the park and then come home, and hopefully I can sit down and do a bit of reading. Once again, we are just going to ignore the lighting and the angle, okay? Because this is where I have landed for the night. And I like really don't feel like moving to a better spot. Let's talk about Firefly Lane, because I finished this. Not intentionally, but I finished it last night. I wasn't planning to finish it yesterday, but I ended up being able to squeeze it at the end of my night. And I sobbed when I finished this book last night. Jonathan was laying on the couch and he was kind of waiting for me to finish up reading, and he had like fallen asleep. And after I was done, I just sit by him and he wakes up and he's like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying not to." He was like, "Oh." And I was like, "I'm never reading that book again." I just was like boo-hooing. This absolutely gets 5 stars, because a book that can make me cry like that absolutely deserves 5 stars. So this makes me insanely nervous to read any more Kristen Hanna, but I really want to. Like, I really want to read The Nightingale and The Women. And this just makes me second guess. I did start Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I had already gotten like 60 pages into this, and then I read to page 101 in this book earlier today, and I think I'm just going to DNF this because honestly the story's moving too slow. The writing is really like, it's just a little hard for me to follow, to be honest. And my aunt once told me that life is too short to read bad books, so she encourages to not finish a book when you're not enjoying it. And I just was not really enjoying myself in this, especially for me to get this far and still be like, what the heck is going on? It's just, I don't think it's a book I'm necessarily going to enjoy or continue the series. So we're DNFing this one, which is sad, but nonetheless, I'm feeling lighter about it. So that's technically one of the books on the TBR done for this month. So I have some plans for the other books on my TBR. So I decided to pick up Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin for the remainder of this vlog and finish this in the vlog for you, because these are both books that are on my 2025 must read list. So I feel really good about knocking 2 of these off this early in the year, and there's only 9 of them on my list. So feeling good about that, but I would love to be able to share my thoughts with you guys, because this was a 5-star prediction. This isn't necessarily like a 5-star prediction, but I do anticipate liking it, only because it, like, everybody talks about it. It was book of the year for book of the month. So I don't know, I just have a lot of high hopes. I'm only on chapter 2, page 13, and so far so good. It's just kind of like nothing's really happening at this point yet. But yeah, so this is kind of what we're going to be reading and focusing on this week. But that's my update for you guys. Nova just woke up from her nap, but I wanted to talk about Tomorrow really quickly, because I'm really not sure how I'm feeling about this. I'm on page 73, so I'm a good ways into this book, and I think I've already talked about it in this vlog, but I have a really, serious turnoff from books when it starts to talk about certain political and controversial topics. And I don't mind them when they're hidden or talked about for a second and then we keep going with the story. But this, I feel like, is only talking about political and controversial issues all the time. I don't understand what some of the things that some of the information that the author is giving us, why that has anything to do with the story. I'm just what is the point of sharing that? Are you trying to get your agenda across in the book? I don't know. It infuriates me because I'm really, really bothered by this book. And then also extra bothered because this will be my 3rd DNF of this vlog, and I'm just this is making this extremely difficult to vlog. I really haven't decided what I'm going to do with this book. I'm going to talk to a couple people that I know that have read tomorrow, pick their brain a little bit and determine if this is going to be like thematic throughout the story, or if the author at some point is going to put some of these things away because they do not pertain to the story at all. I don't know. I'm going to chat around and figure out what the heck I'm going to do about this. Okay, you guys, so sorry about this angle, but I have decided to just call this vlog quits, okay? Because I am just like, how did we get this many not fun books in a row? But this is just the reality of reading sometimes, and honestly, being a content creator, sometimes you just like, you read all these books and they're all for a video, and then you're like, oh, gosh. So sometimes reading is just, bleh, you know? Like sometimes you just get the books and you're like, really? And mine just happened to be 3 times in a row. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I'm so sorry there were not more fantastic reads, but we did get a 5-star, which is perfect. And I love having 5 stars added to my clump of books that I've read. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully better success.